Hello and welcome to this video where I was tasked to do the audio implementation of this character, so I figured why not do a little tutorial of it. What I have done and what you will learn to do is making footsteps that depend entirely on the material you're stepping in. For example, this is metal, and hopefully you can hear the metal. In concrete, the steps changes. In dirt, this is grass, and this is wood. So it really depends on where you're walking, and it gives the character a better, more believable, more lifelike if what the character does reacts to the sounds they are making. So yeah, that's what we will do now. How is it done? First, you need the assets, the correct assets. In our case, I have in my audio folder an SFX where there are more sound effects for attacks, and we have audio for running and for walking. I'll show the running because it sounds louder. Maybe the walking it doesn't sound too loud, so it will be easier to show with running footsteps. And we have concrete, dirt, grass, metal, and wood. These two folders are here to simulate the cloth moving around because our character has a lot of cloth. And with a lot of cloth, you can hear some of it moving and some rattling of the accessories this character has. So we're using these two audios. Well, every folder has like 8 files, so we can have different types of rustling of the clothes and rattling of the accessories. So we have the correct assets. For example, here is the running on concrete. And here is on metal. Now, we have condensed all this information in a sound cue, and the sound cue will allow us to manage any change of the state of the current floor. So it seems like a big blueprint, but it's really not. It just looks like this because we have 8 variants of each sound. You could use like only one. It really is not that important. And here's a little error. So here we are doing a random. What this node does is select at random which of these waves it's gonna play. And let me bring up my content browser. For example, if I wanted to use this in a clean blueprint, you can drag and drop. You can drag and drop in, for example, dirt. You select 8 of them. There it is. You want them to add them to a random node. Select them and drag and drop random, and it will connect automatically. And you can test what this node does by selecting it and play node. In our case, if we play the cue, we can see which sounds are being selected. So, as I said, the cloth sounds will always play because the movement make the cloth move, right? So it is logical that it always play. The rattling sounds also will always play because running up and down will cause that effect. Now we have the concrete footstep that it's the same setup, eight wave files connected to a random node. Also for the dirt, it's the same, grass, metal, and wood, right? And all of these nodes, these random nodes, are connected to, well, this one is the rattling sound, are connected to this switch node. This switch will determine which of these groups of sounds we want to play. And this switch gives us a parameter called, well, I have named it surface. You can name it whatever you want. And I'm setting the parameter unset to dirt. Here it is. Because maybe the developer buying this pack, maybe he doesn't want to implement this. Well, at least it can be used if there isn't a parameter set. That we will see how to set that parameter in a minute. So the parameter, if is unset, it would play the dirt sounds, the dirt footstep sounds. If the surface value is 0, also dirt sound. 0 is like default. 1 would be concrete. And I'm using this order because if you see the folder structure, because of the names, concrete is first, then dirt, grass, metal, and wood. So that's the order I'm using. So I don't get confused whenever I'm trying to search for a file. I know if it's the first group, it probably is the concrete. So 0 is default. Here is the parameter unset. So these two are pointing to the dirt footstep sounds. 1 concrete, 2 dirt, 3 it should be grass. And we see here, yeah, it's grass. 4 would be metal and 5 would be wood. Now, this switch, depending on the parameter, will select the correct group and will randomize it and will give one of them. And if you see, these sounds are not being repeated. Like the last played sound will influence the next sound. For example, let's check. So in the random node, we can configure this behavior, and with randomize without replacement, if we uncheck it, then it could happen that the random chooses the running dirt 3, and when it runs again, it can choose again the random dirt 3. But with the check enabled, it will see that, oh, we already have played this, so let's play another sound. And it will do that until all the sounds are played. So yeah. So the switch selects the appropriate footstep sound. Right now the parameter is unset, so that's why it's being default to dirt footstep. Yeah. And then, oh, let me delete this. And then we're mixing all of the sounds. That is our cloth sound, rattle sounds, and the correct footstep sound. And we can give it here a volume if we want. Maybe we want the cloth to sound louder than the rest. We can, I don't know, put 1.5 here, and then when we play it, the rattle sounds will sound a lot less. And if we duplicate it, it will be more apparent that there is rattle. So Let me put it back to 1. Now we have a sound cue that has the ability to play the sounds that we want and can be switched with a parameter. What we need to do now is set up the code so we can use this sound cue and set the parameter. We will go to the animation blueprint. And in the animation blueprint, where is it? Let me just, here it is. In the animation blueprint, we can set up code that runs with notifies that are being sent in the animation. So, for example, if we have a sound where it will play when we run, then we probably need to check the running animation and set up some notifies there. This is our running animation. And here I am setting up 2 notifies. That it's the same notify, but it's placed twice. So here I want to play the running footstep because there it just made contact. And here the running footstep also because it's making contact there. It's easily tweakable. You just need to drag and drop it. And to set up notifies, you just right click, add notify, new notify, and create a name for it. And that's it. When you do this, you can go to the animation blueprint, right click in a blank space and call the notify that I called footstep. And now it's showing me add anim notify event, anim notify footstep, and that's the one that it has been played. That is being played here. Here it will trigger the code in the animation blueprint. So let's delete that. I have set up running footstep. And in the blueprint, here is the running footstep. What I need to do now is create an audio component so we can tweak the parameters, because if I only do play sound, for example at location, it does not give me a variable. It uses a component that is global to the world. But I don't want that. I want the ability to set up the parameter. So whenever this animation notify is called, it will first check if the component, the audio component, here you can see it, is valid. And if it isn't, then we can spawn sound at location. And I'm using spawn, not play. So here, spawn sound at location. I really don't need a location right now. I'm only spawning it. And I'm saying that I want this type of sound cue to play. And then I'm saving the variable. So if you don't know how to create this variable, you can just right click, spawn at location, well, spawn sound at location, and then you can right click this output pin, right click, promote to variable, and it's the same that I have for the footstep component. You just rename it and then you can use it the same way. You can check if it's valid, and you can do the same code without having to create a variable and having to search here audio component And yeah, so you don't have to guess this way which one of them is it. So if it's not valid, then we create a component, and when we create the component, then we need to choose which surface we're stepping on, right? So before showing this part of the code, it's important to know that in order for this to work, you need to set up the physical materials of these materials that will be used, right? So these meshes all have a material that it's a really simple material. Let me show you. I just created a material, right-clicking material, and I inputted a base color. That it will be a parameter, so it can be changed, like I did right here. I'm just setting the base color here. And here it asks me if I want to put a physical material. And here I have put the dirt material as default, because in the audio it's also the default material if there isn't a parameter set. And in the material instances of this same material, for example the concrete, I have overwritten that physical material to concrete. There is also grass. So how do we create these physical materials? It's actually pretty simple. Here I have them created. You can just right click and find it, the physical material, physics, physical material. You select this one, call it and new material. Let's open it up, and you can set up a lot of stuff here. I haven't. I'm only interested in the sound part. So for the sound part, I have to define the surface type. And if you haven't touched your project settings, it will only show default here. It will not show this concrete, dirt, grass, material, wood. In order to set it up, you go to the project settings. I'm sure you guys know how to get the project settings, but you can go settings, project settings. And here, just click all settings and type physical, and it should be around here, physical surface. You can have up to 62 custom surface types for your project, and this would be in none like all the other ones, but I have set it up. I just typed concrete, dirt, grass, metal, wood, and having done that, it shows up here. For example, let's do this. Let's create. Here are the surfaces. I want to add, I don't know, new super surface. And now here in the surface type, I can select the new super surface. So it's really easy. Let me put it none. Would you like to delete the name if this type is used? Yeah, I would like to delete it. So that's how you set up the physical materials. And you assign them to the material you want to use and drag and drop the material here, just like this. If you want metal there, you can change it however you want. So now we can go back to the animation blueprint, because now my surfaces have the information I need in order to play the sound as I want it. Let me close this, and no. Here is my animation running the animation notifies I need. And now we can enter this part of the code that here, if the component didn't exist, we created it. If it did exist, then it's gonna use it. And inside this function, you have a reference to the footstep component, because this part of the code is being used for running footsteps and walking footstep, and both of them has a different component, and I didn't want to copy and paste a lot of stuff, so here it just gets the reference of that component, in this case a walking one, and for running the running one. So that's the input it has. I know it shows like it's disconnected, but you can call this variable by typing it, get footstep component ref, and it's the same as having to drag the pin, but I found it a lot more cleaner. Here we're using the component, but let's go in order. First, we do a line trace. We are getting the pawn, that it's the character. We are getting its location in the world. We set it at the start, and we are setting a line trace downwards to the ground. And the type of line trace we're doing, it's this one, like get actor location would give me this location, and putting the end of this line trace in -200 will give a line that it's going straight downwards, so it can collide with the ground. I'm not doing it per foot. Like you could check the line traces starting on the bone of each foot, but it really overcomplicates things in this case. So, having done the line trace that we can show, here's the line trace. If we receive a collision, return value, it will be true if there was a hit. Then we want to set the world location of the component, because if you remember, I created the component and set it as at 000 because I didn't know where to put it, right? So here we're setting the world location of that component to the impact point. The impact point, let me turn on the debug. Here it is. The impact point will be those little points that you can see in the surface, in the floor, and that's where we are positioning that component. Now we are making it a little bit higher in order to not spawn the sound inside the floor. It can cause some problems, but just to be safe, it doesn't really change much the overall quality, so we just raise the impact point a little bit in the Z-axis. Now with the component set up in the right location, we need to play the sound. But first, we need to send the information of which surface we are using. So this line trace gave us a parameter that we need, the information that we need, the output that we need. So that we just need to call get surface type. We call it directly get surface type, or you could also use this physical material, but get surface type will return to us the enumerator that we want, enumerator that we have set up default, concrete, dirt, grass, metal, wood, or else. Now, because this is an enumerator, default is 0, concrete is 1, dirt is 2, grass 3, and so on and so forth. So we're converting this enum into an integer, and we're passing that int into the sound queue. And if you remember the sound queue, our parameter that we have called surface is accepting integers. So if it's 0, it's the default one. The same stuff here, default. If it's 3, it should be the grass. And let's see, default is 0, concrete 1, dirt 2, grass 3. And that's exactly what it's going to happen. And we are giving it the name of the parameter we want to change, that in our case is surface. We have it here in the switch node, and we're setting this integer parameter in this component. You can set a lot of stuff here. For example, we can set Boolean parameter, float parameter, integer. There are a lot of parameters. Well, 4. So you can do a lot of stuff with sound cues in Unreal. And after we have set up the correct parameter, we are telling it to play the sound, the component, because spawning the component will not play a sound. So that's the way this is working. And if you see for the walking footstep, it's the same code. We are just here spawning the sound cue, walking footstep, and passing it to the walking footstep component, and the walking footstep uses the same code we just have seen. And that's how the different steps on different surfaces are done. And you can add a lot of realism to your character if you manage to just implement this simple stuff. So I hope this was useful to you, and be free to suggest more themes, more topics that interest you guys, because we're here to help. So yeah, we'll see you in the next video.